Welcome back, trainer. So we're going to be going over more of the meta for the Nightmare Cup, seeing that the smoke is kind of cleared, and we're going to be looking at Pokebattler. So I will be leaving a link in the description to their website. This is going to be one of the first times I ever go over their stuff, and as you can see, I found a shiny Baneri, did name it Thick. I didn't realize it was a male. I did change its name now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and evolve this Ralts here into a Glade. It is going to be landing under 1500, and I'm going to be powering up just a little bit. I'm not going to be purchasing a secondary move quite yet. I don't want to make these steep investments, seeing that I did that for quite a few Pokemon in the last cups, and which I didn't use them. The Pokemon that I did purchase a secondary move for will be on standby for any other cup that we do potentially see in the future, but 75,000 Stardust for some of these Pokemon secondary moves is quite a steep investment, considering that you might not even really use it. Or maybe you just might use it once and you didn't even really need to. You just did because, well, you purchased it and you felt obligated to do so. We're just going to use Leaf Blade for now. So I have been wanting a Glade in the Great League for quite some time now, and this was kind of just that push I needed to evolve that Ralts into the Great League and then power it up a bit. I will be using a TM to go for Leaf Blade as well. And I did use a couple TMs on my Hitmonchan trying to get Power Up Punch, and I've done some simulators to see what's going to be better in a lot of situations. Well, kind of going up against Lucario and Hitmonchan. Obviously, Hitmonchan is going to win because it's not weak to itself. And here we have the Pokebattler list. Now, I did have those types listed on the side, and if you do not know by now, for next month's Cup, that is going to be Psychic, Dark, and Fighting. So we do see Toxicroak up at top there with Counter, Mud Bomb, and Sludge Bomb. So Toxicroak is not going to be taking very much damage from fighting type moves. Is going to be not very effective, seeing that poison does take reduced damage from fighting moves. It's going to be extremely weak to psychic, so there's going to be a lot of Pokemon roaming around this cup with confusion, which will absolutely devastate your Toxicroak, so just take note of that. But on the flip, it will have Mud Bomb to get a lot of those poison and dark types, which is the only weaknesses they're going to have is going to be ground, so Toxicroak should serve you quite nicely. So just keep that in mind. It was fantastic in the Twilight Cup. Did have to look out for that Venomoth with Confusion, as well as a few others. But anyways, moving along here, we have Lucario, of course. And the reason why I kind of broke down to use the Pokebattler list here, I know that I don't usually do this. It's just a better visual for you guys. And it's nice. It's a nice layout here, right? So Lucario with Counter, Power Up Punch, and Shadow Ball, of course. So fighting types will be doing a lot of damage to it. It's not going to be taking super effective damage from psychic moves. Is just going to be neutral because steel does resist psychic types. Then moving along, we have Poliwrath with Bubble, Ice Punch, and Power Up Punch. So as you may know, Power Up Punch is going to gain your attack a little bit higher every time you use it. It's not going to be the strongest move, but it's going to be pretty nice. If you use Lucario or if you went up against it, you know that it's absolutely no joke. And then Hitmonchan, personally, that's what I have, and we're going to be going into my Pokemon and taking a look at what I do have available that we see on this list here. Counter, Fire Punch, and Power Up Punch. It did take me about, I was really nervous TMing my Hitmonchan because, well, it had such a vast move pool. It would have took forever, and I could have burned through like 12 TMs or more trying to get it. But luckily, it only took me about 3 or 4 charge TMs, so not bad at all. Then we have Machamp, if you have one of those in the Great League, with Counter, Rock Slide, and Dynamic Punch. Pretty tanky Pokemon, dishing out a fantastic amount of damage as well. And then you have that Rock Slide to do a good amount of neutral damage to other Pokemon. But just look out, because going up against other fighting types is not going to be very effective. And if you did watch my last video, you may notice that a lot of the Pokemon that I was going over before there was any sort of meta list, I actually went over as well. I didn't talk about Hypno, kind of just skipped over a few, just because I didn't want to make the video like an hour long, right? Then we have Hariyama with Counter, Dynamic Punch, and Heavy Slam. Very tanky Pokemon, dishing out a great amount of damage as well, so something you may want to consider. Now here we have Glade with Confusion, which is going to serve you quite nice, Leaf Blade, and then Close Combat. This is going to be your more expensive Pokemon to invest in if you're trying to get that secondary move for 75,000 Stardust as well as 75 candies. And don't try to get a secondary move while it's little and think it's going to be cheaper, because it's going to cost you the same amount. For Glade, its weaknesses are going to be Fairy, Ghost, and Flying types, which you will see as well as on this list, as we have Honchkrow over there. Then we have Hitmontop with Counter, Stone Edge, and Close Combat. It's going to be an okay option. It does have just single charge moves, so that is something to take note of as well. And then we have Heracross, if you are lucky enough to have one of those in the first place, and even in the Great League at that. Personally, I do. All I have to do is actually just put rare candies into it and power it up a bit. As far as purchase secondary move, it seems like it may have some sort of usability, but I'm not too sure quite yet. So we have counter, Mega Horn, in close combat on that. Earthquake can possibly find some usability for you, seeing that we do have those poison and dark types, which are only going to be weak to ground, so that may just help you out. Then we have Hypno with Confusion, Focus Blast, and Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is going to be a legacy, and if you do have Psyshock, you may want to consider that as well, being a 3 charge bar move and doing a significant amount of damage. But going into PvP, it's not going to be a 3 charge bar, it's going to be a double, but still pretty good. Focus Blast is going to help you out going up against those dark types, so take note of that. Confusion, it's not going to be legacy either. And then we have Primate with Counter, which is not going to be legacy. Low Sweep, you can get that anytime, but Cross Chop will be a legacy. So Primate is going to be a pure fighting type, so it's just going to have fighting moves. So basically not very effective to Psychic, super effective to Dark, and neutral to itself. So Primate is pretty decent, right? And then we have the Skunk Tank, which is going to be one of the Pokemon that's only going to have one weakness, and it's not going to be one of the types that are going to be eligible. So that's why you're going to have to seek out those ground type moves on specific Pokemon, kind of like Toxicroak as well as Heracross with Earthquake, and even Claydol that we'll get to here in just a moment. So Skunk Tank with the moves, Poison Jab, Crunch, and Sludge Bomb. Now, you could possibly run Flamethrower for certain situations, but it's really depending upon the team and as the meta develops and seeing what other trainers are going to be using more, right? And then we have the tanky Umbreon with Snarl, Last Resort, and Foul Play. It's going to be weak to Bug, which you have Heracross there, and for the Pokemon that are going to be eligible with those types, that's going to be weak to Fighting. So take note of that. As far as using it without Last Resort, it's all up to you, but going up against another Dark type, it's not going to be looking too good. Although it will be able to stay in the fight quite significantly long. Any other Pokemon, it's not going to be so hot. And then we have Claydol with Confusion, Gyro Ball, and Earthquake. So there's that Earthquake usability going up against those Dark and Poison types, which may find some sort of value in your team. And then we have Honchkrow, that's right, a stage 1 Pokemon. If you're thinking, what? Yeah, no, Honchkrow is actually pretty good and it can hold its own. So with Peck, Drill Peck, and Foul Play. So there you go for that. It's not going to be weak to Fighting because it is going to have that Dark type, which Dark is going to be weak to Fighting, but since it is part Flying, it will be neutralized. It's still going to take a decent amount of damage from Fighting type moves though. Then we have Drapion with Infestation, Aqua Tail, and Crunch, which I do have one of those as a matter of fact, and that is going to be a great option to use going into this tournament. Then we have Tyranitar, but that's going to be quite dangerous to use, I think, going into this cup because Rock and Dark type is going to be extremely weak to Fighting and going down fairly fast, okay? And if you do have Smackdown and or Crunch and you're going up against a Fighting Pokemon, yeah, you're not going to even really be doing that much damage, all right? But Crunch on Tyranitar is pretty good, as well as Bite does a lot of damage, but they're recommending Smackdown, Crunch, as well as Stone Edge. So there you go. Unless you were going up against Honchkrow, right? Then you're going to be doing pretty good amount of damage. And speaking of Honchkrow, that's what's up next. We have Peck, Sky Attack, and Dark Pulse. So we'll see. I'm going to have to use it going against some friends and PvP matches to see how well it performs. And we just might throw it on our team officially. Then we have a Alolan Muck, something that I think will be performing quite nicely in this cup, seeing that it's going to have one weakness, and that's going to be Ground yet again, just like Drapion as well as Skunk Tank. And the moves that they're recommending is going to be Poison Jab, Dark Pulse, and Sludge Wave. So personally, I don't know. Sludge Wave, sure. But I'm thinking maybe Acid Spray to lower that defense just to give it a shot. Now really quick on my thoughts about that. Say you lead with it, you go in there, you lower the defense of one Pokemon, and then they possibly switch. You get it up to Acid Spray yet again, you lower the defense yet again, and down goes your Alolan Muck, supposedly, maybe. Well, then you're going to have 2 Pokemon on their team, which their defense is going to be lowered. That's going to be absolutely fantastic for your next Pokemon's quick moves to take those out even quicker. So I've been messing around with the regular Muck and its Acid Spray in the Ultra League, going up against a few of my friends in PvP matches, leading with it, lowering their defense, they switch, lower the next defense of that Pokemon, and then the other Pokemon that I have behind it come in, use their quick moves, and just absolutely tear through it. So something you may want to consider. Up next, we have Alolan Raticate with Quick Attack, Crunch, and Hyper Fang. So this Pokemon is no joke. If you are going up against a fighting Pokemon, say goodnight, because dark moves are not very effective to fighting types, and you're going to be double weak. because you're going to be normal as well as dark type. So take note of that, but Alolan Raticate is absolutely fantastic. Then we have Breloom with counter, Grass Knot, and Dynamic Punch, a bit of a glass cannon, and there's going to be a lot of Pokemon here that can do a good amount of damage to it. You have Hitmonchan with Fire Punch, Poliwrath with Ice Punch, and Toxicroak with the Poison, Sludge Bomb, as well as Drapion that can do Infestation to it, and Honchkrow. So it's not looking so hot for it, but it's going to be doing a lot of damage. Up next, we have Alolan Grimer with Poison Jab, Sludge Bomb, and Crunch. So yeah, I don't know so much about that. This list is pretty good, yeah. But as far as that one is concerned, that's going to be quite a steep investment if you were to power it up. So it's all on you on that. And now another Pokemon that we went over, as well as many others on this list, and that's going to be Slowbro with Confusion, absolutely, Water Pulse, and Ice Beam. So not too big of an investment. It will cost 50,000 for that secondary move, but it's still going to, prove very valuable in the future as well for your Great League lineup. And then you have Blaziken with counter, Stone Edge, if you have one of those, and Sky Attack. All right. If you do not have Stone Edge, then go with Focus Blast. So there you have it for the Pokebattler list. Now let's go ahead and hop into my Pokemon and see what we have going on. But before we hop into my list, there is another sheet of Pokemon here by different order, so take note of that. Yes, Spiritomb is going to be something out there for sure. It's only going to be weak to fairy types. It is going to be the same type as Sableye, in which I could say I don't know why they didn't ban this one as well, but see, Sableye is a little OP with the moveset that it has. Spiritomb is not on the level of Sableye. Just take note of that, all right? So there you have it, some more Pokemon here, as well as Crawdaunt, like we went over as well. And then we have the Alolan Persian. I just still can't get over that design. Every time I look at it, it's like, why did you do that to its head? I do not get it. Anyways, now let's go ahead and take a look at my Pokemon. So you may have noticed there was no Gardevoir on that list, but I still think it may perform okay. But who knows? Let's go ahead and look at what we have. We do have that Raticate. We do have the Skuntank here. Blaziken, counter, Brave Bird. Let's look at my Skuntank to change up its boost. Poison Jab, Sludge Bomb, as well as Crunch there. Hitmonchan, and there we have it. Counter, Fire Punch, and Power Up Punch. So if I was going up against the Lucario, which would I want to do, Fire Punch or Power Up Punch? Well, I think I'm definitely going to go for Power Up Punch because I will be gaining my attack, and then the counter will just be doing more damage. Yes, Fire Punch is super effective, but hey, so is Power Up Punch, and you're going to be getting stabbed. And, well, Lucario is just extremely weak to it. We have Sharpedo here, of course, which is going to be weak to fighting. So it's a very big glass cannon, extremely, but is also going to be dishing out a lot of damage. Not something you may want to consider. I have a Mightyena here with Bite, Play Rough, and Poison Fang. I haven't changed up its moves for the Nightmare Cup whatsoever. I just have it rocking that right now. And then I was recommending Metagross yesterday. I mean, you might as well go for its lesser evolution and give that a shot. This one right here, the problem is Pokemon that can reach an extremely high CP potential, and putting them in the Great League is not the best option. Like, say, Dragonite. Obviously, that cannot participate in the Nightmare Cup. I'm just giving you an example. Even if you had a Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, Dragonite for the Kingdom Cup, that's still something you don't really want to use because it's just so frail, because its stats are so low being in the Great League when it should be way high powered up, right? Then we have that Slowbro here. I did power the other one up, that's right, because we were going over that. This one was able to reach a higher CP potential. 50,000 for that secondary move. I will purchase that maybe in the future, but for now we're just going to go over these fairly quick. And then we have my Lucario, counter, Power Up Punch, and Shadow Ball. This is going to be extremely hard to get for a lot of people, but if you do have one, it is going to be very nice for sure. It is a MVP in the Kingdom Cup, definitely. And then we have Glade here, the one I made yesterday. 75,000 candies, like we went over. For that secondary move, I do have Confusion and Leaf Blade. Hariyama, which I think is going to be something a lot of people are going to use because it's pretty tanky, dishing out a lot of damage as well. It will be extremely weak to Confusion, but that's okay. Does that have that Heavy Slam to combat those other types there? So just take note of that. Toxicroak, which I have ready to go, counter, Sludge Bomb, and Mud Bomb. So this one is a great Pokemon. Very, very weak to Psychic, so you need to take note of that as well. Also weak to Ground, because Poison and Fighting type are both going to be weak to that Psychic typing, and then the Poison is just going to be weak to the Ground there. And then we have Alola Muck, which is only going to be weak to ground as well. I have Poison Jab, Acid Spray, and Dark Pulse. So the Sludge Wave, it takes forever to finally get it off. And when you do, they just might shield it up unless they're out of shields, which is going to be a hard-hitting move. But in which case, you might as well just go with Dark Pulse unless you're going up against a Fighting-type Pokemon, which is going to be reduced damage, not very effective to fighting Pokemon. So the choice is yours. I still need to play around and see what we have going on here. Nothing is set in stone. And then, of course, I have this Exeggutor, but unfortunately it doesn't have Confusion. I do have 3 Legacy Exeggutors with Confusion, but they're all above the Great League. Rest in peace. And then we have Honchkrow here, my shiny. Fantastic. I was really happy about this one, especially when it received Sky Attack. The only thing I'm very disappointed about in this Pokemon is its frailness. It cannot take a hit for anything. Yes, it's part flying type and it's part dark, so it's not going to be taking super effective from fighting. But even so, it's still going to be getting a lot of damage taking onto it. Yeah, it's sad, but still, it's going to be pretty good to test out. Counter Grass Knot Dynamic Punch on the Breloom, looking great. Drapion, this is that nightmare. All right, we have Infestation, Crunch, and Aqua Tail on this one. Do you want to run Sludge Bomb? You could. I mean, I don't see why not. But seeing that you're going to have Psychic-type Pokemon roaming around, you may want to go with that Crunch and get Stab. You will get Stab from your Poison, but Crunch is going to be super effective to those other types, depending. Now, if you're going up against a Fighting-type Pokemon, it's going to be doing a decent amount of damage to you for neutral. But with Infestation gaining so much energy, you'll be able to spam them over and over again with Aqua Tail. This has always been a fantastic Pokemon for the Great League, as well as the Ultra. And then we have Gardevoir here with Confusion and Shadow Ball, another Pokemon that I almost purchased a secondary move for, which I'm glad I didn't. I'm going to hold off on that for now. It'll be doing a massive amount of damage with that Confusion, going up against those fighting types, and going up against another psychic type's not looking too hot, but you do have that Shadow Ball for coverage there. And another thing about this is it can learn a fairy move, which will be super effective to that Spiritomb. All right, we already looked at Slowbro. This is going to be my Tyranitar shiny, which I purchased a secondary move a while back, foolishly, for 75,000. I do have Bite, Crunch, and Fire Blast. I probably would switch that Fire Blast for Stone Edge. But I'm not even worried about the Tyranitar because I'm not even considering it because it's way too weak to fighting types. Grumpig, which was not on the list, but who knows, it could find some usability in these metas. And then we have another one of those, Girafarig, no. And here's the Hypno, Zen Headbutt. Let me go ahead and just get the Confusion right off the bat. We don't even want it. We don't even want Zen Headbutt, so Confusion is going to be doing quite a bit of damage. I could TM it, but I would almost feel like I should just purchase a secondary move, to be honest with you. Let's go ahead and power it up. 1486, that's the same as that Slowbro, I think. All right, and yeah, it's going way over. So another good option if you do have a legacy with Psyshock, that's going to be fantastic. And then we have Slowking here, which can learn Confusion. I do have Water Gun, Fire Blast, and Psychic, quite a diverse set of moves. Water and Fire on the same Pokemon are pretty good, although just single charges, so eesh. Not looking too hot. Deoxys, banned. Okay. Solrock, possibly. Claydol, there we go. I have one here. Extrasensory and Earthquake. I'm not going to purchase a secondary move right now. I have to do some battles with the current Pokemon I have. If they don't perform too well and I want to venture off and try some other ones, then maybe. Starmie wasn't on the list, but take note of this. Many hidden power types for Trickery. Okay. It is going to be a bit of a glass cannon, but it's still going to be dishing out a good amount of damage as well as it does have double charge moves, okay? Absol, very frail. Very, very frail. I don't think you should try it out. Medicham, ha ha ha, that's banned. That's funny. All right, so we're just going to cut that short for now. There you have it. And yes, so all mythicals, all legendaries, Medicham, and Sableye are all going to be banned. And if you're scratching your head like, well, why is Spiritomb allowed? Like we went over, it's not going to be as OP as Sableye is with those moves, okay? That's pretty much it. So there you have it, trainers. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let's go ahead and shiny check. What if it was? That would have been absolutely fantastic. Although I still have one. Let's go ahead and look at it right there. So yeah, I need to still find myself a female shiny. So anyways, trainers, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and I'll be catching you all next time. Take care.